And just like that, football season is back. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Neds AFL Unpopular Opinions. Believe it or not, this is the fourth season of this show, and we are back. My name is Dylan Leach. I have not played football. I'm just a hack. But I'm joined by two men, again, for another season that were named recently in Brisbane's Team of the Century so far. For the past 25 years, both of you were named in it. According to the Herald Sun, named at full forward, Alastair Lynch.
Oh, thanks. Good to be on again and didn't know about that.
Yeah, you were named at full forward and named on the bench, Tom Rockliff.
Yeah, I was probably a bit lucky. Your resume is a bit better than mine.
Oh, what are you? 8 times 40 plus?
10.
10
times 40. But when the midfield consists of Lappin, Black and Power...
Yeah,
I mean, you're a good... I mean, the rotation...
I'm happy to sit on the bench.
Just come on for those bursts.
Yeah, come on once they've done the grunt work. And
how good.
Just rack them up.
I don't think I'll survive too much longer, but it's nice to be in there. It's a nice...
how good's that?
My era at the Lions wasn't the best. It was a tough time, but we got through it. So.
Yeah, you don't undersell your own performance.
Yes. No, you take it. Yeah.
You share the bench with Joey Danaher, Sean Hart, Hugh McCluggage.
Yeah, it's a pretty good bench.
Jeez,
It's a pretty good bench.
It's
a pretty good team.
Yeah, that is a great
What's the forward line?
The forward line, Daniel Bradshaw, Ewan Bradshaw, yourself and Zorks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not a bad team.
Yeah, not a bad team.
A very good team. So, I noticed that. So, you're both on the Brisbane quarter century team, according to the Herald Sun.
Lovely.
So, that's how I'll introduce you for this week.
Yeah.
Great to have you back. How's the off-season been for you both?
Well, it's been good, but probably I should apologise to you to start with. I mean, I think there was periods last year. Remember we played in that golf day down at Wynnum?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And old mate, putrid.
Putrid.
I mean,
shocking.
You should have seen him in Sydney when he actually swung the club.
Vile. But
pathetic.
I need to backtrack a little bit because I don't know whether I haven't got many friends, but every friend that I've got sort of saw the golf show with Paul Gow on Fox Sports.
I've seen that show too, actually.
Yeah, did you see me on it?
I did. I wasn't going to mock you because I that would be hypocritical.
I didn't see it.
I tell you, do yourself a favour.
KO?
Do yourself a favour. I'll tell you what happened. So are you a bit nervous because you think, want to do the right thing. And on the second hole, I think I double bogeyed the first, but it wasn't embarrassing, the first hole. Second hole, they said they're going to get the drone to come in hot and follow the ball on your drive. And so they count you in 3, 2, 1, hit. And I've smoked a 3-wood.
Down the guts?
Down the guts, miles. And I looked like, I was strutting down there like John Wayne, thinking, how good's this? Got down there, I'm about 80 out and sort of just got the little wedge and just buckled the pegs and just going to flip one up onto the green. I reckon I even told Gowie, I said, I'm going to just chuck this left of the stick. I've buckled the pegs and I've hit it backward a point. I hit a shank, it's gone backward a point, and they've got the ball tracker as it's gone. And I can't bring myself to watch it, but it was played about 5 times, wasn't it? I think they opened with the shank.
Oh, good.
And just continued on with it.
Oh, yeah. And they didn't give you the chance, like, drop another ball and have a go. No. That's going on air. So I made a fatal mistake. I've sworn on air before, but that was the time I should have sworn on air, so they couldn't play it.
No fan of the ruck work on that show. Rocky, how's your off-season been, mate?
Well, yeah, good. I didn't play any golf on TV. I did away, but yeah, brilliant. The sun's coming up. What do we got to complain about?
Well, the sun is coming up right now. We are recording this as of
Monday
morning, the 3rd.
Well, the sun's actually gone already.
The sun is gone already. Yeah. We are in Brisbane. That's where we do record this program. And as we go to record, the season opener could be in doubt. Could be postponed. What's going on here?
It'll be safe.
I think it'll be safe.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to New Zealand, then it takes a right-hand turn like Lynchy's wedge in and comes straight back for Brisbane. So the Bomb's guessing that. I mean, they've only got one right in the last 100, so it's probably fair that it'll miss us.
Yeah, I reckon they're a bit gun-shy, though. They're going to plan for this one. There's been a couple of floods of late where there was a few debacles. So, but it's unusual. Like, I've lived in Queensland for, 35 years? No, 31 years. And there's been nothing like this come this far south, the cyclone.
It keeps coming, and then they normally, by the time it gets to the coast, they're a bit smaller. But they did say there was big waves off Moreton and stuff, 16-metre waves.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But
because
I think this time tomorrow, we'll probably have a fair idea how it's tracking.
Here's hoping we're playing Thursday night because you, of course, are going to be part of the flag unfurling ceremony.
Yeah, no, it's a big night for the Brisbane Lions, obviously, with their first flag in 20 years. And, I think there's a whole bunch of us past players being rolled out, including Lee Matthews.
Yep.
We get to unfurl the flag, which will be amazing. Be great. And in front of a full house, hopefully. And also at Fox, when you've been bloody...
Ooh.
Yeah, we've got about a dozen commentators up there.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Just as long as there's no rain, because we might get caught out. Yeah. So we'll see how we go.
The Gabba, we had the test washed out at the Gabba last time. Had some during the summer, so hopefully it doesn't happen with the football.
Well, yeah, and we saw even, you'd remember grand final at the Gabba.
Yes, I do,
yes. That lunchtime when it belted down with a shocking storm. It flooded, but within minutes it drained away.
I've got a list coming up on today's show as well. We're going to do when football gets interrupted, and you are involved in a fair amount of these, according to my research. You've been around for a fair few of these moments.
I've been in the snow and rain.
You have. You've been in all sorts of conditions. Obviously, the show is called Unpopular Opinions. Is there anything to take out where it's been a while between drinks, a fair few weeks, obviously, with the off-season. Is there anything you want to take out from the pre-season that caught your eye, off-season, pre-season, that you really would like to get off your chest or make a bit of a statement about?
I'll go first
Go,
because
Tom.
she's politically correct. His hands are a bit tied with the AFL with what's going on with Tassie.
Yep.
So I've got a few things, 4 things that I'll kick off
All
with
right, go.
instead of just the one. But I think it's time now to scrap the pre-season completely. Get rid of the competition. No point playing it at all.
Jeez, you're looking at me notes. I'm with you.
Teams play each other. They play intra-clubs for 2 or 3 weeks and then they end up playing, like Brisbane will play the Gold Coast and Sydney will play the Giants. Just do that and then we go into the season. We don't lose players to injury. And again, you're never going to be able to control injuries. It could happen round 0, it could happen in the pre-season. So injuries aren't a concern, but I think it builds excitement when we haven't seen the teams going in and go bang. Fremantle come out and say, we played the All-Stars, but we didn't actually play our game plan. The excitement of going into round 1 or round 0 not knowing what is going to come is exciting. So I think
I agree with you totally.
So you two are both on a unity
that was one of mine.
there.
I'd go, I wouldn't even play the Gold Coast as far as Brisbane or anything like that. Just go in. So we all go with that anticipation for the first game of the year, thinking, what are the young guys going to look like? What's the team going to function like after last season? Then go all in. There's an enormous load on the players, and they need some sort of practice matches, but let's do it internal and then just roll out round 1. The excitement, just the build. Imagine the build to opening round when we've seen nothing. Now that's probably on getting a strife because of content on Fox Footy.
Yeah.
We'll go film the internal trials maybe. But I'd love to go.
Yeah,
going cold.
I kind of disagree. I don't like the match simulation. That's the biggest. Not only is it a terrible wanky buzzword that they use in football, but if you ever watch them on television, it's some of the most embarrassing. It's some of the most embarrassing product that any AFL professional.
No, I was commentating.
Hang on. Tommy,
it's not the commentary, but it's filmed. It's filmed off an iPhone.
Sounds like it was.
No, it's not the
clip.
It's not the commentary, but
he's here.
Let me tell you, if you and I think it's a good idea and he doesn't, I think it's a good idea.
I would like to see, if you're going to do pre-season, do it proper. Have this community series. Have it for 2 weeks.
We're not doing that.
Get out to the community. Actually play games out in the community.
Nah, scrap it.
Well, that's not happening.
Not happening.
Well, they're not going to put more matches in.
Well, they already play 2 matches.
But this is the thing. The AFL filters what they can do at training anyway. They put a stamp on them. You've got to send in what you're doing at training to make sure the contact's not there and stuff. So just get rid of it altogether. Get rid of one game and away we go. The big thing that frustrates me and we can't give players credit for is the weights. The lack of knowing a player's weight needs to come back. Surely common sense has to prevail here. You got a guy like Riley Tilthorpe at the Adelaide Crows who looks like he's put on potentially 7 to 10 kilos. Did you see him?
How good's he look?
No one knows that. He's put on muscle, but and it doesn't it's not that, like, it doesn't affect us whether we know or not, but it's great to be able to sit in the commentary and go, he's had a massive summer, he's put on 7 kilos, he's weighing 105.
What was the logic of scrapping the weight
Well, I think
in
it's
player
to
measurements?
protect the women somewhat, because the women's obviously don't.
That was probably the starting point.
Which we don't need the women's weights. I completely understand that, because they're not quite at that level of being professional full time.
Mm-hmm.
The men are. The men are professional. They're there every day. Let's just have it.
Is it more acceptable not necessarily to have specific weight, but we could publish a weight range?
Just the weight.
Would that be a bit more kosher?
No, let's not muck around. Just say, well, he's put on 7 kilos. How good does he look?
Yeah,
it's looking trim. He's been in the gym, trained the house down.
Shifting the goalposts on everything. So reopening the window to sign players because they got a couple of injuries. Set the date and be fixed on it. AFL always swinging in roundabouts when they change rules, interpretations, but they reopen it because Melbourne and Carlton get injuries, so they reopen that window so they can sign players. Set your date and be smart about it.
What's your ideal date for that?
Well, I don't care what it is. Just don't change it once you get injuries. Okay. That's tough titties. That's bad luck. That's just bad luck. And the big one for me is just focus on the game. I think Chris Fagan was pretty strong in his comments to the AFL Commission when he went. The senior coach gets to present, the premiership winner. He was pretty strong. Start to listen to the coaches and the players. They have an understanding. They're on the ground all the time. Get in the footy club and start listening to them instead of making stupid decisions from AFL House. And I think they've lost focus of what's actually more important. It's the product of making sure that there's 9 quality games week in, week out in AFL season. And their focus for some reason are things like making sure that there's a woman in every club on draft night, making sure that that was a priority for them. That every club got contacted and said you've got to have a woman in there on draft night, which is not affecting anyone whatsoever. Go and focus on the game.
Focus on football.
So that's my little rant.
Hey, good. You've had some time off. You've done your homework.
Happy?
That's a solid start to the year.
Solid, very solid.
I'm happy with it.
Written, spoken and authorised T. Rockliff, Brisbane.
I'll go one of my observations over the pre-season, which I reckon you'd be aligned to. The succession plan with Ken Hinkley at Port Adelaide.
Oh, yes.
I sincerely, and we're Ken Hinkley fans.
Yeah.
But I don't understand it. I don't understand. Now, this is vastly different to a Paul Roos handover succession plan, because Roosy in Sydney said, I'm done at this time, and the succession plan was to bring Horse through. When he started at Melbourne, it was, I'm coaching for this long, and he had to find a replacement. I think he originally selected Stewie Dew, but he decided not to come down from Sydney and ended up Simon Goodwin. For Port Adelaide to make this decision that Ken Hinkley will be replaced at the end of the year is a lack of support for Kenny, I would have thought, in his ability to coach the team. So you either think he's the right coach for the club or he's not. Now, if Josh Carr might be a superstar, so if he's a superstar and Kenny, you have some reservations about Kenny, put him in now. I don't understand why you wouldn't put him in now. I just think it could be a disastrous year for Port Adelaide with this succession plan. I think the succession plan works if the coach is behind it. So it's his idea.
Do you feel like it's not?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I feel like a bit the same.
Well, Kenny hasn't gone to them saying, look, I'm getting a bit weary and I want to hand over in time. That's not happened.
No, I tend to agree with you. I think what happened at Collingwood at the end as well, Mick Malthouse gets them to a grand final and Bucks is sort of there. Is it Bucks' team? Is it Mick's team? It's going to be a little bit like this year. So what happens if Port Adelaide had 3 wins at the midway term? Josh Carr's looking for the future for 26. Ken's looking for the coach now because he knows he's only got half a season left. What do? You obviously want to develop your players and get your list as good position if you think this year's gone. I think he probably should have just done what Horse done and said, you know what, my time's now. I'll walk away. Dean Cox comes in. He gets back Horse got back for a week at pre-season and said, nah, this isn't for me. I've had enough. I think they probably should have handed it over this year. But again, when I'm not inside it, you're not inside it. They think it's the right thing. You have to back them in. But I all in with you on that.
I just can see it be a disaster or hard to manage later in the year.
I get the feeling in this day and age, clubs aren't very good at letting go of coaches. They always come up with succession plans. It's not as ruthless as it once was. They're not brave enough to make decisions and say, if you don't do this, you're gone. And we've even seen,
Well, on the same
was
topic.
it Justin Longmuir
Justin Longmuir.
he's now just on staff at Fremantle?
Or is it the end of this year he's on staff?
Yeah,
I
he
think
just
it is.
becomes a full-time staff, which is ridiculous.
But that's a lack of commitment.
Yeah.
So that is reinforcing. Now, I know Justin and the club have packaged it up and presented it in a different way. But I think that's Fremantle saying to Justin, we're unsure.
Yeah.
Right.
We're still unsure. Now, if they're unsure, say you're unsure and let it run its course to the end of this year. And then Justin will back himself in saying, yeah, all right, I'll back myself in. But what it gives them, now there is a settlement, like if he's on staff and gets the flick, there is a payout. They haven't disclosed what that is. But by not committing to a 2-year contract, it gives them the ability to get out of that agreement with little risk, a lot less risk. So I see that as a lack of commitment.
Brendan Bolton was on it.
Yeah,
and
David Noble.
And David Noble. Yeah,
I think Neil Craig also
Neil Craig
was on that as well.
It just seems like we're not totally, we don't know. But if you don't know, that's okay.
Yeah,
because
you've got your contract to run.
You've got a great opportunity.
But also, since when was being a football coach a safe job?
Never.
Why are they giving those job security to football coaches?
Well, you want to support the person, whether it's a player or coach. You want to support them so they can thrive and do their best job possible. But it might be an honest conversation. Look, we're going to see how it goes halfway through the year, and then we'll address it then. And again, going back to the Ken Hinkley thing, are we in or are we out?
So, can I give you a doomsday scenario for Port Adelaide?
Yeah.
Let's say they lose their first game, which is against Collingwood on the MCG round 1.
Yeah.
Round 2, Port Adelaide play Richmond. If they just have if they win but unconvincingly, or if somehow the Tigers,
you were going to say they were going to.
if somehow the Tigers pull off a very unlikely win, what do you think the jungle drums in Port Adelaide are going to be like about Josh Carr? Because you know what the Adelaide football public are like, particularly the Port fans. What are the jungle drums going to be like?
Well, I think if they didn't do the succession plan, the 2 coaches in Adelaide would have been the most talked about coaches for the season, because Matty Nix, he has to play finals, or he's a dead man walking as well. So, look, as I just said, if it gets to the midpoint of the year and they've only won 3 games, well, then he nearly has to leave mid-season, because it's like, well, Carrie's going to come in, implement a new game plan or what he thinks is the best path forward. If round 2 or 3, it just begs more questions, I think, than answers. I think we could have all gone in the season knowing that it's probably Ken's last year unless they win the flag. Yeah. Everyone knows that. I don't think they have to comment on it. Yes, he's the coach until he's not the coach.
Yeah.
And it may be mid-season, it could be around. I don't think they'll make a decision in the first half of the season. But then I have a feeling that if the wheels fall off, I think Port are going to struggle this year. I don't think they probably play finals, which I'd prefer them to play. But I think at mid-season bye, Ken might just say, you know what, it's been a great 12, 13 years, turned the club around from the absolute cellar dwellers that they were.
From the tarps at Footy Park.
To got them back on their feet. Yes, he didn't taste the success, but you know what, it's been a good ride. See you later.
That's right. He's done a great job, but they've made a decision. You're not our coach moving forward.
Yeah.
That's been clear.
Can I ask, because you're on a board of a future football club.
Yeah.
Eventually, when the football club grows up in Tasmania, you will face a situation with a coach contract renewal or a coach...
So you better clip this up and play it back to me in a few years' time.
Or a coach...
put someone on staff.
or a coach contract negotiation. Is it a time for you to sort of sit back and learn and go, well, we've seen what's happening in Port Adelaide, we've seen in this situation... Is it a chance to sort of learn in the development? Because one day your club's going to have that situation when you grow up.
And in 6 months' time, maybe in hindsight, I've got to backtrack and say, well, perfect. They've nailed it. Yeah. But, I think my view at the time, now, that's not the right way to go. Now, in Tassie, that's all we're doing at the moment is learning, speaking to a hell of a lot of people, putting people in place to make those right decisions, whether it be Brendan Gale or an experienced general manager of footy operations to make those decisions. So our first task is to get those people in place, and then they can make the appropriate decisions around coaching.
And staying on this subject, when you were players, you may have not had situations like this, but say it did happen during your career, if you said if that happened while you were playing and you've got your current coach and next year's coach, what would a player think in that sort of situation? Or they just say, right, Ken's the coach, Josh is still the assistant, or is it? Do I need to be nicer to Josh more? Do I need to be not?
Well, the waters are a bit muddy, so it's like, well, who am I answering to? I would imagine I never went through it, but it's like, well, you've got your senior coach, and yes, he's the coach, but then you've also got your future coach, so your relationship certainly shifts. And I think every single player would acknowledge, and Lynchy, correct me if I'm wrong, but an assistant coach is different to a senior coach. And an assistant coach, when they become a senior coach, behaves differently to when they're an assistant coach. When you're an assistant coach, they're arm around, they're supporting, they're a lot more. Where when you're a senior coach, you've got to have that balance of the relationship of arm around, but also being firm. And I'm not saying that assistant coaches don't have that, but the relationship is very different from an assistant coach to a senior coach.
Oh, absolutely. You don't know how someone's going to be as a senior coach and actually till they're in the chair. And because we've seen a lot of assistant coaches change a lot when they sit in the chair. It's a tough gig. But again, going back to Port Adelaide, now Josh Carr must be an enormously impressive, and many times I've spoken to him, he seems like a very impressive young fella. Well, he's younger than me, I suppose. But he seems very impressive. But it must be, because you'd think you get to the end of your current coach and then look at the whole industry of who's the best. Now, you've already committed to one. Now, I mean, what if, and who's regarded, say, Chris Scott is regarded as the best coach in the game, for example. What if at the end of the year he said, I'm done here, but I'd love to coach in South Australia. But you've locked yourself out of that because you've already committed to one.
That's the big thing as well. Like, I know Josh Carr is the number one candidate for Port Adelaide right now, but what happens if the best coach or 5 of the best coaches become available? What if Chris Fagan, something happens dramatically? Not that we know, but I'm just saying, like,
you've gone all in.
Alastair Clarkson, anyone. Paul Roos goes, I want to coach again.
Yeah.
Well, we've already signed Josh, so sorry. But do they make the change?
We haven't really seen something like that happen probably since the Mark Harvey, Ross Lyon, Freo coup overnight. That was sort of the last time that sort of a club was incredibly ruthless with an appointment of a coach.
Yeah, and I get the whole planning, succession planning. Clubs and organisations have to plan.
Well, it's the same as the draft almost. Like, you can go in with a plan, but if someone slides and you take the best available player, it's the same as a coach. You take the best available coach. And at the moment it might be Josh, but at the end of the season it may not be Josh. Yeah. But anyway.
I look forward to the Around the Grounds updates this year of the Josh Carr Hinkley situation.
Well, it's going to be a huge
It's not going to go away, is it?
No, it's going to be a huge talking point.
Going to be intriguing. And not an unpopular opinion, but one thing I actually did like over the Amy practice match series or whatever, I actually enjoyed the umpires cracking down on short kicks and calling play on and cracking down on 15 metres. That was happening a lot over the weekend, sped the game up. Hope that probably will only last till about round 3, as they always do with crackdowns, but big tick on that.
Yeah, we've seen bits and pieces over the last few years on that. Yes, they've probably gone a bit more.
I reckon they went really hard, particularly.
There was kicks that were 20 metres that they were paying play on.
Yeah, right. Which I would have. So I only saw part of the games over the weekend, and I saw a couple of those across half back. 15 metres in the back half is vastly different than 15 metres in the front half.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. You can get away with a 12-metre pass, kicking it inside to your forward 50 near the target. Yeah. Mark. But if you got to hit at 25 and back flank.
I think they should have just changed the rule to 20.
I think so too.
Just
I
make
think that's
it a bit
good
longer.
Speeding up. Yep.
It'd take out all my kicks. I wouldn't have got too many marks to players.
You'd have to.
But no, the optics of it, I saw it a bit in the Carlton Giants game in Canberra. And it looked...
It speeds up play, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a great way to speed up play, and that's what we want to say. Boys, great first start to the season. First segment, first done. Let's continue. This is AFL Unpopular Opinions. You are listening to AFL Unpopular Opinions here on the Neds Network, as we like to call it. Just a heads up, this year the Snapshot is going to be a breakout podcast. So if you want to get straight to the betting and info with Rocky and Ryan, that'll be out every Tuesday during the season. Some juicy odds I've seen too.
I know, Lynchy, you can't comment on this, but I am all in on a bet at 9-1. Jump on the Neds app. There's exotic futures.
Yep.
50 disposals will happen this year at 9-1.
Have you looked into how long since we've seen a 50?
Couple of years, Tom Mitchell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Lockie Neal, actually.
Yeah, I think Lockie got it. Yep.
Dacos is all over it. Lockie Neal's over it. Clayton Oliver's a chance. Clayton Oliver, he was stunning yesterday. Someone will have 50 this year. And it's alive from round 0 till the grand final. It's a live bet the whole year, unless you get paid out.
$9.
$9.
Outstanding.
It's the bet of the year.
No comment.
There you go. But, Rocky, that sounds tantalising. So look out for the snapshot, which will be on the Neds AFL Unpopular Opinions feed on your podcast and, of course, on YouTube throughout the year. Now, it being round 0 and the start of the year, take your screenshots, recordings. This is what I like to call a receipt-keeping segment. So just all your little statements as to how the year is going to look. And I will start. Where we're basically going to want to get the who's in and who's out of the top 8 a medalist. So that could be either of a Brownlow, Rising Star or Coleman, a most likely situation and a least likely situation. So I'll kick off proceedings. The top 8, my ins, Melbourne, Collingwood, Fremantle. Out, Carlton, Western Bulldogs and controversially Sydney. Based on the ghosts of bad grand final losses past. Teams are not very good at backing up. And when Sydney did make the finals in 2023 after that horrible loss against Geelong, but they kind of got in on an administrative error because that was
they got in.
They got in, but...
The last 2 premiers are missed finals.
Yeah.
Brisbane?
No, I think Brisbane... I've got Brisbane
winning
still going. No, I've got going with Giants is my roughie for the grand final.
As long as they don't dress up. As long as they don't dress up.
That's it.
Right, got in strife. A few suspensions.
Now, my medal prediction, Rising Star. Keep an eye out on Josh Smiley, Richmond's number 7 pick.
Oh, let him go.
$15. Also look out for
It's
Taj Houghton.
It's already around Levi Ashcroft's neck.
Yeah, well, I'm just got to go for an outsider here. So just keep an eye out on Josh Smiley. He looks really good. Now, most likely situation is we're going to have the duo of an umpire interpretation and tribunal verdict that makes 0 sense by round 3, and that's what we will be opening this show talking about.
Rightio.
Guaranteed to happen. And my least likely scenario is Joe Danaher gets the itch. He's watching. He's got the itch to play again. He's seen the first couple of games. He goes, "Geez, I miss footy," and then all of a sudden, he goes, "Oh, I might just get a bit fit and call Fags," and Brisbane pick him up in the mid-season draft, and one of the all-time great comebacks comes along.
It's either that or he'll be commentating with Dusty Martin
on Fox. So that's the spirit of this segment. So Lynchy, you go.
Right, top 8. So what do you want? Who's in?
Who's in and who's out?
Who's in? Sydney, Geelong, Giants, Brisbane.
No, which clubs are in from that did make it last year?
We'll work it out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Tell us who's
coming in.
Yeah, who's coming in?
Collingwood and Freo.
Okay, who's out?
Bulldogs and your mob.
Yep.
Port.
That could be. It could have been.
Yep.
People could have been thinking
Yeah,
Brisbane
actually,
there for a second there too. Lynchy.
I think that's it.
On the foundations builder at Port Adelaide. So
That's true. That's
strutting
true.
around.
Yeah.
Yep.
Surprised Tom didn't get the coaching job, to be perfectly honest.
Well,
He hangs around the rooms enough.
I am 4 and zip as a coach this year. We'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Medalist?
Medalists, let's go Levi Ashcroft.
Rising Star?
Just, easy.
Yep.
Well, and I'll give you a Norm Smith as well.
Go on.
Will back-to-back.
Wow. So just all in on the Ashcroft boys.
Oh, yeah. They're stars. And just saw a glimpse of them run. They look like the same player.
Yeah.
Running around last week.
Is Levi going to have an element of the Nick Josh Dacos? Like, is he the...
Better?
Better?
I don't know.
Hard.
Yeah,
Brother's
good.
one of Norm Smith.
Potentially.
Good luck.
Josh is still pretty good. Most likely?
Most likely, Macquarie Point Stadium gets passed through
there we
Parliament in
go.
Tassie.
Yep.
And Tasmania's provisional licence converted to a full licence mid-year. That's most likely.
You got a good source on that?
Yeah, just know someone.
Yeah, okay.
Least likely,
Yeah.
Hinkley transition will go smoothly.
Yeah.
I had Joe and Dusty to commentate a game on
We're pretty close with all these.
Yeah, that's right.
Joe and Dusty, that would be quite the combination.
Yeah, and I reckon
Who's calling?
And well, most importantly,
Yeah.
they both come out and do the post-game interviews because
they refuse.
So they do both of them. So Joe will do the first one and then he will throw to Dusty to do the second one.
Is Dusty going to do like a roaming Brian type setup? Just roam around the rooms and he could talk the house down, Dusty.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
And what, you're going to get Gary Ablett Senior and Plugger on the same commentary team? Yeah,
that'd be very good.
That'd be good.
Can't
Rocky.
wait. Yes, so
Ins and out.
It hurts me to say this. Crows, Pies, Freo.
Yep.
Out, Port, the Dogs and Hawks. I think Hawks will be a slider. Medals, I've just gone all four, so I know we only wanted one. But Dacos, Brownlow, Levi Ashcroft, Rising Star, Lockie Neal, Norm Smith, Jesse Cameron, Coleman.
Yeah.
Most likely,
here we go.
Now this is controversial, but Laura Kane steps down, moved on by the mid-season bye. I think there'll be a bit of change in AFL House, and I think Laura's time is ticking.
Do you have a replacement in mind?
It'll be someone in footy, someone that has a footy background, club background.
Okay.
In my opinion, like a David Noble or someone that has.
Is that the most thankless task in football operations?
Not really. No. I don't think it's that hard. It's pretty simple, to be honest.
Not that hard.
Just making a good product.
There's Tom Rockliff's
not that hard. Listen to the feedback.
His resume into AFL House, and least likely,
unfortunately, sorry, Kenny, Ken Hinkley coaches Port Adelaide to a flag and steps down. Because if he coaches a flag, he ain't stepping down.
Oh, I'll tell you what, if he coaches them to a flag and he still gets the Coke and sauce.
It ain't happening.
Or the lemon and sauce.
So it won't happen because if he coaches a flag, he ain't moving.
Or if he is, bloody, give him my card.
Goodness me.
So there you go.
Excellent. All right. So we look forward to Ken Hinkley coaching the flag, the Joe Danaher comeback, but that's the week before he's doing special comments with Dusty on Fox. So plenty to look forward to there. This is AFL Unpopular Opinions. This is AFL Unpopular Opinions. Dylan Leach, Tom Rockliff and Alastair Lynch with you here on Neds. A big shout out to all the Western Bulldogs supporters listening to this program because I think all three of us have them out.
Well, the Bont's out for
that's no good.
He's the best player in the comp.
That's a huge out.
6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and calves when you get a bit older.
Yeah. And the dogs can be a bit shaky. They can be a bit hot and cold. They've certainly given us that over the last few years as well.
It's worth because of where we record from, being Queensland. None of us had Gold Coast in the 8.
Don't trust them yet.
Well, I think they will improve. Their best finish is 12th. They've finished 13th last year, I think it was.
They'll be better.
They'll be better, but we've just been looking through who's going to try to push into the 8. You got Melbourne aren't getting in also. Yeah. Adelaide, as you said, they're under the pump if they don't get in. There's a lot of clubs with reasonable claims on making the 8.
Well, hopefully we've got a lot of congestion towards that sort of round 21 to 24 period, and then it just goes in and out, and the live ladder's going bonkers towards the end of the season. Well, I reckon, that would be fantastic to see.
This could be the most competitive season. Over the last couple of years has been incredible. I mean, outside your mob, Dill,
North, West Coast,
for various reasons.
Win the wooden spoon.
Yeah, it's going to be tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Very tight.
It'll be fun to watch. Okay, time for Dylan's Delights. Now, doing a bit of a list this week, boys, to start the season off, because as we are recording this, the Geelong and Brisbane game, there's a bit of doubt if it's going to get postponed or if it's going ahead or not. Update at 11 a.m. Brisbane time. Andrew Dillon, the AFL CEO, says he's monitoring the situation. So that could mean, I reckon we'll be playing Thursday night somehow. Somehow I reckon there's a game Thursday night. Yeah. But I thought I'd just do up a list of bizarre AFL match interruptions. And I've come up with, it's very biblical, some of the stuff that has interrupted football. So first, of course, we've got some thunderstorm delays. There was the Sydney Derby, the one that the Giants first won, but his first ever game for the Swans.
Yes, out at NG Stadium.
Yep. And
I was there that day.
And there was the thunderstorm delay at Optus Stadium in about 2021. The game was delayed for about 50 minutes. And Melbourne basically went to the rooms, were very comfortable, and then they had to get back on the ground, and Melbourne only won by 9 points that day. So, yeah, there's been a few thunderstorm interruptions now. Yeah. That's very common. 2, sprinklers. That happened at Waverley in a night series match. That was between Hawthorn and Claremont. of all teams.
There you go.
A while ago.
A very long time ago. Streakers,
Yeah.
1982 grand final. We had the game delayed because of that.
Pretty common.
I was
back in the day.
commentating in Darwin. There was one up there too.
Yeah?
And got away. Hurdled the fence.
And
Got through
bang.
the crowd. Out.
Oh, I've seen that vision. Was he wearing was it a streaker and a mancini from memory or something
I'm
like
not
that?
Sure. Yeah, might have been. But yeah, got over the fence and was off.
4, animals.
Pig.
We've had so there was the pig on the ground.
Snake.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
snake.
you were at the game in Blacktown. You've been
Blacktown.
at a few of these, Lynchy.
Yeah, there might be something in that.
Was there a snake delaying a pre-season match?
Yeah, he was in the forward pocket.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it was a red-bellied black snake. He was in the forward pocket. But then at post-game, 2 of his cousins were in the Swans room. The fair dinkum was in the medical room. They've gone in post game. A few of the boys gone in the medical room. 2 red bellies under the bloody table.
No, thank you.
No,
No good.
And it also happened at the same ground a couple of months earlier in an AFLW match. The
Yes.
game got delayed by
So that was on the far wing. Yeah.
Yeah, so
There's a couple
I noticed.
issues there.
I noticed there was no games at Blacktown this year in the pre-season. The Snakes are probably.
They're good snakes because they get rid of the other ones, but they go you as well.
Oh yeah, they can get pissed off. But the concern was, and probably was reinforces how many snakes were out at Blacktown. The snake catcher, when the old mates come in the forward
Did he
pocket,
look like a snake catcher or what?
but he got there. He was there in 2 minutes, so he's actually on staff.
He's
so
ready
there's
to
a
go.
snake catcher there,
So they have a
means-
groundskeeper and a snake keeper
Yeah.
at the venue.
So he was on staff.
Imagine you've just arrived in Australia and you've seen Australian rules and your first impression of Australia is the sport gets interrupted because someone's a snake on the ground.
Oh yeah, driving home last night, there was a python took up half the road going across
Wow.
our street.
One in my street last week as well.
The
go.
whoppers are still around.
Okay, number 5, lights out.
Yep.
So I happened to be at both these matches. That was, of course, Waverley in '96, where the game went out and that St Kilda Essendon won, and they had to come back on the Tuesday night to finish it.
And was that the Malcolm Blight?
Yeah,
had
that's
the lighter?
where Channel 7 crossed to Malcolm Blight in the commentary box talking from his cigarette lighter. And then the crowd stormed the pitch and started a bonfire in the middle of Waverley.
Oh yeah, I wasn't aware
So,
of that.
do YouTube the vision of the Waverley blackout. And then they had to come back on Tuesday night and play 2 20-minute halves.
Right.
Teams were able to make changes, and Essendon was able to bring in James Hurd, who was injured, to finish off the match. So that went down
remarkable.
really well.
You
and
had
of
far
course,
too much time on the weekend.
and of course, there was the Gabba a couple of years ago with James Brayshaw's famous commentary. Oh no!
The renewables got them.
Yeah, that's right.
Start the coal up.
and then Tom Rockliff's
That's right.
then Tom Rockliff's lobbying for the coal industry fee.
Started back up.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, Matty Canavan.
So what play was delayed by about 35 minutes, and then Brisbane were really comfortably in front. Then Melbourne came back and nearly snatched it from them. So
Because Brisbane actually didn't want to play the rest of the game.
no, they wanted to call the game off. Number 6, scoreboard on fire.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Richmond Carlton game. I was there that night.
Was that the G?
It was at the MCG, just as the team ran out and absolutely exploded. So, yeah, that was a bit awkward. Team, anyway. You played in this match, number 7, Death Valley. So you actually played in this match.
As it was called then, Colonial
Stadium, North Melbourne versus Brisbane.
Yes, the turf.
The turf on the city wing resembled a beach volleyball sandpit.
Yeah.
Chris Johnson...
And Chris Johnson was
yeah.
spinning the wheels.
Yeah.
Yes, and then what happened was St Kilda was due to play Hawthorn the next day at Colonial, as it were. The match had to be moved to the MCG because it was unsafe, and because at the time Channel 7 owned the venue.
Yeah.
A young reporter by the name of Craig Hutchison,
Got in strife.
yes, used the term Death Valley and was suspended by the network for 2 weeks for daring to bag out Colonial Stadium. This is an interesting one. Number 8, the team's plane doesn't even land.
Oh, yes, Essendon.
This is
Wangaratta.
Essendon in 2012 attempted to fly from Essendon Airport to Wangaratta because heaven forbid you could get the 2-hour bus.
Yeah.
So the wild weather prevented the Bombers from landing and they had to turn back to Melbourne, and St Kilda had just put on like an intra-club match for all these people in Wangaratta that were really excited to see.
I played in one of those games as well.
Did you?
Tassie were playing the VFA in 1987.
Yeah.
And we flew over the morning of the game, couldn't land because of fog, so flew to Canberra, had lunch in Canberra, and flew back after lunch and got to Junction Oval to play the VFA half hour late.
Yeah.
And not surprisingly, we got jumped early.
thumped.
That's a
and,
surprise.
Struggled to fight
So
back.
don't fly on the day.
No, don't fly on the day.
Is the now exotic weather interruptions? Here are some notable ones. Now you played in this one, the 1923 grand final, Essendon
yeah,
Fitzroy.
right.
You remember that, don't you?
Yeah,
it was
no, it was
postponed a week due to a waterlogged MCG.
Yeah, but Chicken Smallhorn still handled the ball beautifully that day.
I mean, the Bombers went on to win that, but
Yeah, but he was good.
the first ever match for premiership points in Queensland was actually delayed. So it was bucketing down, and that was just played around the corner at the RNA Showgrounds. So that was played that got moved from a Saturday afternoon to a Tuesday. Entire
When
rounds.
was that?
That was 1952. You were playing back then, weren't you?
Yeah, I was the next year.
Oh, yeah, the next year. Yeah. We've had a round of matches was literally postponed due to flooding in Melbourne in the 60s, and there's been a few in pre-season, including one that you were involved in, Tom.
Oh, thank God for that.
Tom was actually at an interrupted
Mackay.
game. It was a game in Mackay between Brisbane and St Kilda. What happened there?
I think it was a cyclone as well. You might have been out there. It was
No,
about
I wasn't
500
actually.
mils.
Yeah, and they called her off, didn't
Grass. There was grass, but floating across the ground, so we couldn't play.
And
Called
last,
off.
and last but not least, COVID. Remember that?
they? Yeah.
What a time to be alive.
Well, how many
It
tests?
wasn't called off.
Well, the season
No,
was
just-
delayed, and then the season was cancelled, and then rescheduled, and just
And Lynchy filled the pockets.
And
'cause he was
Lynchy-
on every
Filled the
single
pockets.
game.
No,
Fox
no,
Footy
no.
became
The
Channel
contract
Lynchy.
went.
That's where I needed a manager. I was not on a per game contract.
You
then.
got
Silly boy.
so
I was
much
silly
silly
boy.
time.
I was on a flat contract and did 3 times the games I was
Did you,
contracted
when
to.
you were doing that, did you literally go to broadcasts having no idea who was playing? Because that fixture was all over the shop. I mean, it had to be.
Well, there was players that weren't even on lists that were playing. I think it was it West Coast, all the top-ups and stuff. There was people that never played before.
I can't remember who it was. There was a so what was happening, because there was no crowds and trying to do interviews still. And to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. Especially, I remember a few times driving down the coast and ringing our producer saying who's playing. And then ringing assistant coaches to say, can you tell me some of the players? Because new players coming in. But there was a day, I can't remember the young guy's name, but what was happening from the huddle, say quarter time huddle, West Coast huddle, and what the media manager was doing was going to grab probably the most experienced player out of the huddle to walk over to me to do the interview. So whoever was sort of capable enough to do it without sort of worrying them too much. And so I didn't know who they're going to grab. And so obviously Simo would put the names up on the board. You've got the 4 blokes on the bench. Media manager will go grab one of them. And I've seen him go grab this kid, and he's walking over towards me. I've got no idea who he is. And the problem was, because he was facing me as well, I couldn't see his number. So I'm trying to be a producer. Who's this? Who's this bloke? The 2 most generic questions of all time. Yeah. Oh, no idea who it was.
There you go. Well, here's
That was
hoping
stressful.
that we get a game on Thursday night.
Well, hopefully.
Time to wrap up here on Neds AFL Unpopular Opinions. Round 0. Let's go.
Away we go.
Away we go.
Do you want a multi for the week? Or
Well, look out for that. The multi will
Just
be
in
in
the
the snapshot. You'll catch the
Perfect.
multi on the snapshot there.
I'll give something to keep an eye out for.
Yep.
Won't happen in the first few weeks for the Brisbane Lions.
Okay.
Because I reckon they'll play Sam Day and he'll play the second ruck and centre half forward. Look for Eric Hipwood sooner rather than later to take on the Joe Danaher role and be the second ruck. And it turned Joe's time in Brisbane around. He had 3 great years.
That's what's going to trigger his comeback, mate.
No, Eric will go in about round 5. He'll go in and play second ruck and it'll just free him up a lot.
Stay tuned for that, Rock. What are you looking forward to, mate?
Just to get started. I think away we go.
Yeah.
Footy's back. Let's go.
I can deal with I don't mind the little soft launch and then get into all the big stuff next week. So away we go. Boys, we've got a fun year ahead of us.
We have.
certainly
It'll be
do.
interesting, no doubt about that.
There's never a dull moment. Thanks for listening. Snapshot's up tomorrow. We will catch you next time on AFL Unpopular Opinions.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website